Once upon a time, between tall mountains and lush green fields, there was a beautiful village called Norpur. Simple, hard-working, and honest people lived in this village. Some were farmers who plowed their fields early in the morning and worked until evening. Some cut wood from the forests and sold it in the market. Others ran small shops to feed their families. The people were not wealthy, but their hearts were full of kindness and sincerity. They shared each other's joys and sorrows and lived their lives peacefully together. This entire region was ruled by a king named Shah Mir. King Shah Mir had immense wealth and power. His palace was grand and magnificent. The walls were decorated with precious stones, silk curtains hung from the windows, and expensive carpets covered the floors. In the treasury rooms, countless chests filled with gold and silver coins were stored. But despite having so much wealth and luxury, there was no mercy, justice, or compassion in the heart of King Shah Mir. The king was extremely proud of his wealth and authority. He believed he was the most powerful person in the land, and he saw the villagers merely as subjects meant to serve him. Because of this arrogance, he imposed heavy taxes on the poor villagers. Farmers had to give a large portion of their crops to the king's treasury. Shopkeepers also had to give a big part of their earnings as tax. If any poor person failed to pay taxes on time, the king's soldiers would immediately arrive at their homes. They would take away their grain, seize their livestock, and sometimes even take their household utensils. Because of this cruelty and oppression, the lives of the villagers became harder with every passing day. As time passed, poverty spread across the village. In many homes, the cooking fires stopped burning. Innocent children began going to sleep hungry, and the elderly suffered from illness. Farmers worked tirelessly from morning until evening, yet most of the fruits of their labor ended up in the king's treasury. Still, King Shah Mir showed no concern for their suffering. He continued celebrating in his palace, enjoying luxurious feasts and living a life of comfort and pleasure. One day, an old and wise traveler arrived in the village. When he saw the miserable condition of the villagers, his heart filled with sorrow. He gathered the people and said, "Remember this, oppression never lasts forever. The one who takes away the rights of others and causes suffering will one day face the consequences of his own actions." The villagers listened carefully, but they were helpless. They had no power to stand against the king's tyranny. All they could do was remain patient and pray for better days. But after some time, driven by greed, the king increased the taxes even more. The situation became so severe that many farmers stopped cultivating their fields. Some families were forced to leave the village and move to other regions in search of a better life. Slowly, the village began to lose its life and vitality. The fields that were once green and fertile started turning barren. The markets that were once lively became silent and empty. Shop doors began to close, and the streets slowly turned deserted. One day, King Shah Mir was reviewing the accounts of his treasury. To his surprise, he noticed that the wealth in his treasury was decreasing rapidly. He immediately asked his ministers about the reason. The ministers, trembling with fear, replied, "Your Majesty, there are hardly any people left in the village now. The farmers have left, and trade has stopped. If there are no people, how can the treasury be filled?" Hearing this, the king became deeply worried. But by then, it was already too late. Within a few years, his treasury became almost empty. Since the soldiers were no longer paid, they also abandoned him and left. The palace that was once full of lights and celebrations slowly became silent and deserted. Finally, a day came when Shah Mir was left completely alone in his own palace. He had neither wealth nor power left, and not a single loyal person remained by his side. Only then did he truly realize that the real cause of his destruction was his own cruelty and arrogance. But by then, regret was useless. His oppression had already become the reason for his downfall. The lesson of this story is simple. Power and wealth never last forever. A ruler who oppresses his people will eventually collapse under the weight of his own. Justice, kindness, and respect for humanity are the true paths to greatness and lasting success. And if you enjoyed today's short story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories.